McCarthy from Liverpool John Moss University. I think we'll be waiting for more 2 minutes, so your friends will join us. Then we will start our session today.
Yeah, good evening, Professor. Yeah, let's wait for 2 more minutes and then we'll be good to start.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. Professor Ahmed, I guess we can start.
Okay, thank you very much. So guys, welcome again to this live session. And today we will be talking about how to identify your research problem. Last week we have defined, or we have went through many steps that you need to do with, let's say, coming up with your, or choosing your research topic and problem. So today we need to continue at the same, let's say, the same direction to identify or help you to identify the problem. So let's start it. So your research problem is basically can be defined as a problem that you as a researcher want to solve, or a question that the researcher, which is you guys, want to answer. So we've got, let's say, two way of saying it. Is it a problem that you need to fix or to solve, or is it a question that you need to answer through research? Also, research problem may cover specific issues or difficulties to be fixed or to be handled, some contradiction between, let's say, many other researchers or different research schools, or you could work to bridge some gaps in the knowledge. So this is about a research problem. So basically, when we talk about a research problem or a problem statement, which is almost a synonym to each other, you can see the figure in front of you on the screen. Basically, we can think about our research statement or research problem is basically what is the current solution, or what is currently being happening in terms of computer programs, in terms of computer application, in terms of computer science theory, and what should be happening actually. So we our work is to identify the problem which is right in the middle here, because we need to fix or change or update or come up with new solutions or come up with a new theory or so on and so forth. So what is currently happening, but we need to work to make changes, some changes to a theory, to an application, to a service, using advances in computer science technologies to bring that to what is exactly or what should be happening. Basically, we think that there is some gaps, or there is some limitation, or there is some problem. For that reason, we will work on that one to make it exactly happening as we can see it to be the right way. So when we talk about the research problem, basically, we may think about some practical problems or theoretical problems. So when we talk about practical problems, you can identify a problem by reading reports, following up on previous research, and talking to people who work in relevant fields or organization when you would like to work on some practical problems. If your research is linked to a job, then you need to find the research problem that has practical relevance for your organization, your current organization, your institution, or the place you are working at currently. Or we could work on some theoretical research problems. This type of problem basically focuses on expanding current knowledge and understanding rather than directly contributing to have some changes to a service or to a solution or to developing new programs or whatever. And this type, basically, in the theoretical research problems, you can read recent research theory and debates on your topic to find the actual gap there. So the theoretical research problem, this type of problem, basically have practical consequences sometimes, or usually. Thus, you may end up having a small case study approach just to approve your theory, or to do some, let's say, to a proof of concept, to do a proof of concept. When we talk about the practical problems, I think it is basically looks like more or less these examples in front of you, such as issues with performance or efficiency in your organization, in your company, for example, to do some processes, improving some processes, protecting your data in different ways, for example, um, area of concern among your colleagues as a practitioners in your field of research. But when we talk about the theoretical problems, so we could think about the phenomena or context that has been closely studied. I mean, we could handle something related to, for example, to the core concept of cybersecurity principles, for example, or to handle some principle related to neural network design, for example, and so on and so forth. So, or we could talk about the philosophy behind data warehousing and how we could approve such a solution or such a structure. Then you could handle a contradiction between two or more perspectives regarding some theory problems on researches also. Or you could study a relationship between um, some, let's say, variables which is not been understood before. So you could work on practical problems, or you could work on theoretical problems through your master journey. But as long as you are still working on that one, basically, on your way to figure out what to work on, then I would like to remind you about the good, I mean, let's say a good problem to yourself. What we mean by a good problem, basically, we can say that the selecting research problem is highly likely influenced by yourself, guys. So, is that problem that you would like to work on is interesting for yourself? Do you feel passionate toward that kind of problem or that kind of issue that you need to work on? You can also ask yourself, can I achieve the aim, for example, in a reasonable amount of time? Am I able to expend or to expend resources on in terms of time, effort, money, any type of resources, data, computational power, for example? Am I able to make a contribution if I go through such a research topic? So last week we have also talked about such a thing in case what is exactly the way that we could follow to get to our problem, our to define our problems basically. So you could get your problem directly through your supervisor's suggestions, so they could just you suggest to you to work on a specific kind of problems or research questions, or you could have a suggestion from others. So how we could or who is the others that we could have suggestion from? So usually when you go through research papers, I mean some papers that interest for yourself, then usually you figure out there is a part called future research or future work or future study. Then usually you can see that the researcher have identified several pathway that you could go through, and you pick up one of these pathways to take the current work to the next level. This could be usually found in, let's say, thesis, master thesis, PhD thesis, and many other research papers. Usually, researcher will define, let's say, many opportunities for future work. Then you could build on these suggestions and come up with a or figure out where is the problem. You could also replicate research with modification. So, for example, one of the researchers have applied a specific computer approach to handle certain problem, for example, in the scheduling, in the airport scheduling, in the scheduling of, let's say, bus stations, for example, in the prediction of Bitcoin price, for example, and any kind of solutions, for example. So you could replicate similar research, but you could basically alter the settings of that research. Then you could define new variables. You could apply um, such a technique on a new domain, or you could basically alter or tune all the parameters. Then you could come up with a new result. So these are basically some of the examples that you could through them have you will have defined your research problem. But in general, if we talk about research problem, it is more or less similar to what you can see on the screen. We will start from the very top by identifying the broad study area basically. Then we will go through all these steps down to assessing our objectives. So let's start from the very top one, which is identifying the broad study area. So identifying, you should identify the field in which you would like to work on it. So for example, if you are doing a master in computer science with specialization in cybersecurity, for example, then you might choose a problem related to cyber threats, cyber crime, cyber trends, and so on and so forth. So it is important to define the big picture. I mean, identifying the broad study area by picking up a big direction at the beginning. Then we could move on to the next step, which is dividing our study area into several sub areas. So that will make the work easier for ourselves to pick up or to select one of these areas. So, for example, if you are working on cybersecurity, then as your area of interest for your study, then divide that into many sub areas such as network security, web application security, database security related to cyber crimes, and many other sub areas inside the cybersecurity, for example. Then after dividing all that broad area into sub areas, you need to identify a specific sub area, as it is almost impossible for yourself to study all the sub areas together. So you need to mark up your interest, which of these sub areas that I will pick, and I will continue work on that one. At this stage, you should select the sub area which you feel passionate about, you feel interest about. Then after that, basically, after picking up your area of interest, which is sub area, basically, then you should formulate your research question. You would point out your research question under the area of interest as you have decided earlier, which is then after that, you will set up or set out your objectives. By the way, before setting up your objectives, your
Hi,
question might...
Professor.
Hello,
I'm so
sorry.
sorry to interrupt you in between. Professor, there is some disturbance in the background because of which your voice is breaking and the learners are not able to hear it properly. Would you mind joining back, like once?
Yeah, I will try to fix that. Just give me a minute, sorry.
Sure.
Do you hear me well now?
Yeah, Professor, I think it should be better now. You can continue. I'll let you know if anything is there in
Yes,
between.
thank you very much. Thank you very much. So
Yeah.
I will go back to explain these different steps, basically, in case that you had the problem with the voice, basically. So first of all, we need to define our broad study area. So this will help us to work on further to get to the end of our mission, which is identifying the problem and research question. Then after that, we will divide that that study area into many, many sub areas accordingly. So, for example, if you start working on, let's say, you define your broad area of study as a cybersecurity, then you divide that term, that big term, into several sub areas such as cyber attacks, cyber crimes, trends, and so on and so forth. Then you divide that into basically network security, web security, database security related to cyber crimes, and so on and so forth. Then after dividing that, you could mark up your interest and develop your research question. Your question could be something like, can cryptography help in fighting cyber frauds, for example? Vulnerability analysis and reverse engineering, data protection law and cybersecurity, how third-party vendors can be gateway to cyber attacks, for example. There are thousands of titles that could come up with by yourself, basically, to work on your area of interest. But before you decide on which of these you will continue to work, you need to set up your objectives. So research objectives essentially comes from your research question. Then you need to define your objectives according to your research question. The end or the last step, you need to assess. You need to assess or evaluate your objectives to make sure the possibility of attending them through your research study. Because assessing your objectives in terms of time, budget, resource, and also technical expertise at your hand is very important. Also, don't forget to assess your research question in light of reality. Determine what outcome will bring your study. So now you need to review all these steps, let's say 2 or 3 times before you end up with your final vision. At the end of the day, you will know which direction you will go because you have started from the very top, the wide area. You narrow it down to the very bottom, which is the specific area of research that you will pick and work on.
Hi, Ahmed. Avinash here. Sorry to interrupt in between.
Hello.
Yeah, I need to drop at 8:30. So there's something which I wanted to ask before that, and it's regarding to the topic submission date. Maybe the question to you and Ashi as well. So is the date is fixed, or I mean, like as a group, we were thinking that it's preponed. So can you please confirm the date?
Okay, I think the date is 23rd of June currently, but we will consider in case that you need extra time, so we could provide you with, let's say, 1 week or a couple of or 3 or 4 days, depending on your situation. So currently, be focused, please, on your research problem and topic rather than just forget about the deadline, because you've got plenty of time. I think you've got extra 10 days roughly.
Sure. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Thank you. So now I will be moving to your questions through the chat. So starting from the first question, your friend asking, do we need to provide a problem statement for theoretical research problem by assuming real data or focused data? Okay, so we've just mentioned that if you work with some theoretical research problems, then you may end up with having a small case study just to do, let's say, proof of concept. Then At that point, you need to have some small amount of real data just to um, to approve your solution or to approve your idea. Okay, guys, please post your questions through the chat. I'm sorry for the noise. I didn't know what is the actual issue with that one. Hope you get me my voice quite well now. Okay, guys, please focus
Professor,
on the.
I have a question.
Yes,
Uh,
please go ahead. Go ahead.
this is Tayyab. So I'm a little concerned about. I have a topic which I believe can take more time, more than 6 months, and this is something I'm really interested. And if I say in a true sense, after calculating a time, it can take more than 8 months if I start doing research, and it required in building some application in between to prove that research it is working. And but what I see the timelines, we have 6 months, and I don't know. So that is making me choose another topic which I might not be very much interested. So I'm kind of puzzled at the moment, and what to do, what not to do in that scenario.
Okay, that's a very good question. We usually are interested in something, but we don't have enough time to do it. For that reason, as a computer application or maybe a mobile application, you are aiming to develop or some other type of application because
Yeah.
you need to go through several steps basically to achieve your application in a proper way. So for that reason, what I'm suggesting here, you could do a prototype. I mean, do only a prototype, and you will end up with a prototype while you're submitting your final thesis. Then you could, I mean, spend 2 or 3 months after the submission of your thesis to work on your application to make it a real world application and submit it to the market, for example. But at the meantime, you could work on a prototype, assessing a prototype and evaluating a prototype
Mhm.
with, let's say, not 100% of functionality. For example, if you are planning to do some application with a huge amount of functionality, then you need 8 months. Then why you not start doing your application and only considering, let's say, 60% of your planned functionality of the application? Then you do a prototype of that one and assess that one and submit your thesis. Then after that, you could complete working on that one. By the way, you could also write in the future work, I will be working on the same application to take it to the next stage.
Okay. Okay. So the topic is little niche, and I okay. I'll have to find the feasibility of having a prototype. Uh, that narrows down into some productivity and all, and
Yeah.
so I don't know. And okay, I'll figure out. If
Yeah,
prototyping is
still working on that. Still do several, let's say, come up with several strategy, several plans, and
Mhm,
measure all these aspects. Then at the end of
mhm,
the day, I'm sure you will come up with a solution because,
mhm,
at the beginning, sometimes it will be difficult to decide where to go, what to do. But
mhm.
you're still working on that. Develop your plan. Then you will narrow down all your, let's say, your aims or your total objectives. Then you will end up with some prototype that you could achieve in 6 months.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Hello, Professor. I'm Ketan.
Hello.
Uh, uh, so I did go through the list of research topics for thesis, and there are a couple of good ones wherein I wanted to select three among them, but they are in the same set. So there's set A, set B, set C, and set D. So can I choose all the three from the same set?
Yes, you could do that. Basically, you could do selecting all the three topics from the same set. There is no issue with that.
Okay. Just a
Because
follow-up question.
you will end up with only one, and you are free to pick up all the three at the same direction or the same field. But at the end of the day, you will end up working on one topic.
Absolutely. Yeah, makes sense. And we still haven't been assigned any supervisor. So can we go ahead and select the topics if we are sort of okay with it?
I think the most important point here is not selecting the supervisor himself or herself, but it is selecting the topic that you feel passion through, or you feel interesting about, because the problem or the topic is much important than the supervisor itself or himself, because you will still working on that topic, and the only task of your supervisor is to
David, we can get the data off of it and then
keep you on
copy
the
that
track.
where it's carrying over, but.
Got it. Yeah. Thanks.
You are welcome. We've got a question from the chat saying that can we have a research question which analyzes existing research paper with in-depth concept which related to it, whether the existing solution will work with it or not. Okay, this is an interesting question, and I cannot say you can work or you cannot work. I cannot say yes or no, because you know why? If you will do a research question which basically you're analyzing existing research paper, but at the end of the day, to what extent you will analyze your these research papers? So what type of analysis you will do, what type of results you will got, what type of computer approach or programming approach you will do or achieve toward your problem, your current problem. So it's not only about the analysis, but it is also about the approach that you will do and the measurement that you will take, and also the outcome that you will achieve. If you can see that you could do some kind of innovative way of evaluating such existing research while you are developing some new solution against these current solutions, for example, then compare them head to head, then why not? But if you are saying I will only analyze existing research, even though you will do it in deep, but that will be similar to only a literature review, which is only a chapter in your thesis, or a literature review can serve as a literature review paper. So for that reason, you need to be clear about your aim, what type of solution you will provide, what type of analysis you will do, what is your outcome.
Professor, hi, Professor. It's me, Chandru, who raised the question.
Hi.
May I? Okay. If I do the same analysis on an infrastructure, it may be a solution. Whoever raised it. So, for example, if someone have a solution for a problem and I see some drawbacks in it, so I would like to fill the gap in it, like whether it works for this type of scenario or something. That's what I was asking in the chat. Is it a legible research type of question or?
Okay, you have mentioned something like I need to fill some gaps because of some drawbacks which is already exist in some of the current solutions. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know whether it will work for that or not, because I haven't implemented that concept into this thing. So after implementing only, I'll be knowing whether it is filled or not. Because it haven't those gaps haven't researched yet. So after applying that solution, only we will be knowing whether it is applicable or not. So can we take this as a question and move on, like whether this suits this sort of problem, which is not discussed in the existing paper? The gap is not discussed in the existing paper.
Okay, so there is a gap, but it's not being discussed in the current research papers, and you would like to work on that one. You will develop some new solution, but you don't know if your solution will fill that gap or not. You are not sure about it.
Yes.
For that reason, why we are saying that you need to have a plan and you need to identify the big area, then you do sub areas, then you will mark up your interest, then you develop your objectives, then you evaluate your objectives. All these steps we need to just to make sure that you are going to the right direction, because we don't need you to go through 4 months of work, then at the end of the day you will have nothing. I mean, you will not filling that gap, and also you are not achieving any solutions. So this is basically something difficult. I mean, we cannot just go through such a way without having at least 60 to 70% guarantee that we will achieve something.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So please make all your measurements to make sure that when you do something, there is a result. If you develop an application, if you cannot apply it in the real world market, then you just ask the, let's say, the specialist, what do you think about this application? What do you think about the services that are provided by this application? You could do several ways of evaluating or basically doing a feasibility study or so on and so forth. So this could work, but you need to have something at the end of the day. You need to present something in your thesis, showing your result and showing your analysis, and also evaluating your method.
Okay. I'll try to write down all the process which involves in this topic and send that to your mail so that we'll have further discussion on it.
Yeah, that will be fine. And please be clear and descriptive when you writing that through the email, so I could exactly know what you are basically aiming to do.
Got it. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Hi, Professor. Ketan again. Sorry to interrupt.
Hello. Yeah.
So there's an Excel sheet which is by the name Topic Selection Research Excel sheet, and there are headings like title, link to paper, understanding of data set, and understanding the methodology used. So the title for this research thesis will be on set A. So for that, there is no data set which I can think of, and I don't think of any methodology also for that. And if there are no way of getting the data set right away, at least before I choose the paper, I mean during the selection of the paper, is it mandatory to fill in these details and send it across?
Okay, so
it says if any, but
yeah, I know it says if any, but you need to have the in the description. I mean, while you are providing the title, and you need to provide let's say several lines of description. You could say that in the description, I will not, this topic don't need to have a specific kind of data to work on, because it's kind of something software development, and I will do some software engineering approach, which don't require having a data set, for example. Just make it clear so we know that there is no need for yourself to provide a data set.
Okay. Okay. Similar thing goes with the methodology, right? Just if in case.
Yeah, but for the data set, you could say that I don't need to use the data, but for the methodology, it should be there is a methodology, even though you don't know actually the exact methodology that you will follow, but you just give some description about what steps that you will go through. For example, you will analyze the current problem, then you will collect some amount of samples, for example, then you will analyze what is going on to be sure that your application will cover several services as um, basically pushed by the customers, or for example, according to customer needs, for example. So so when we talk about methodology, it's all the steps that you will take from the start point to the end point of developing something, like, let's say, application or services or whatever. So it is better to say something about the methodology.
Got it. And is it mandatory to have the paper as well? Link to the paper?
Yeah, because we need to see that you basically have explored the literature and figured out similar studies, for example, even though it was not exactly 100% similar to your study, because you need to work on something different. For that reason, you could provide some links to similar study, not exactly the same.
Correct. Yeah. Thanks, Professor. That's all I have.
You are welcome. So we've got through the chat, we've got Karan asking, is it okay to have a research topic that follows on or is inspired by a talk at a technical conference, not an academia, and brings it into an academic context or expand it? It is definitely fine. It's definitely fine, because we've just mentioned that you may work on something technical, or you will work on something theoretical. You could mix them together to end up with a good piece of work. So this is totally fine, as long as what you are talking about is something measurable and achievable, because at the end of the day, you will need to submit a thesis with figures. We need to see that you have developed something or proposed something that could be measured and could be evaluated. The same person asking another question I had is if performance evaluation or relative performance evaluation is a valid research topic. By this, I mean evaluating performance of a web server or a set of web servers, for example, or maybe performance of a particular algorithm, etc. So I think this is something simple and plain if you need to evaluate the web server. So it's some fuzzy term, ambiguous term, because you need to be clear what type of evaluation, what type of let's say, what type of action or what type of processes that they should do. Then you need to evaluate them. Do these basically web services or web servers basically are working in terms of, or in terms of gamification, for example, in terms of IoT devices, for example, to have let's say scheduling of tasks. Then you will do some sort of algorithms to scheduling tasks. Then you measure the performance of these web servers, or you just mean by measuring web server performance is measuring the capacity and the working time, for example. So you need to be clear, and should be a real problem, basically. You have to tackle, you have to work on. We've got Sharansh asking when we will get LJMU credentials to check research papers. Yeah. We are working on that one. We've got some small technical issues, and I think it will be solved soon, very soon. So, guys, any other questions through the? You could open your mic and ask directly, or you write your question to the chat. So, you're welcome to do both. If you would like to email me with um, some of your concerns, some of your questions, then you could find my email on the screen, which is ljmuacadsupportml@avograd.com.
Hi, Ahmed. Sorry to interrupt
Hello.
you. Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you quite well.
Yeah, hi, my name is Aman. I am speaking here for the first time.
Hello, welcome to this.
Yeah, so I have a question about the topic. So, as pointed out by Karan, that maybe we can measure or, see the performance of a particular algorithm. So, there's an algorithm in IoT world. It is naive Bayes algorithm. So, which is used to train the systems according to some data sets. So, do you think that is a relevant use case for a research topic to,
Okay,
deeper into that particular algorithm, see how can that algorithm be used in different scenarios?
okay. So you are talking about something similar to a machine learning, yeah?
Yeah, so, correct.
Yes. So this is
So,
basically something valid to be working on, because we've got already a full program running exactly on machine learning and AI. And so if you would like to do so this is also valid because it's still a computer science um, related discipline, and you could do some algorithm testing in different terms of settings, in different terms of situation, different terms of data, whatever kind of settings that you will um, do and prepare your algorithm for. So this is totally fine, but you need to make sure that you are developing your argument quite well, because you don't need to only have um, evaluation of some kind of algorithm performance without basically without developing a proper argument, without handling a proper problem, basically.
okay. So what do you mean to say is essentially we need to address a problem?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Sir.
You are welcome.
Hello, Professor. Shubham here. Uh,
Hello.
so,
Hello.
hi. So, I just wanted to talk about the topics part. Actually, the set which was shared, they had very less topic areas in terms of blockchain space. So, since I am all part of the blockchain cohort part, so I have been studying blockchain for past 1.5 years. So finding a relevant topic in this direction is a bit challenging for me, as I'm not able to find the relevant topics which can be considered for the thesis writing, considering the amount of duration we have. So any help in the topic selection in blockchain space would definitely help me out in. So any guidance you can give on that part?
Okay, so I know that when you're talking about the blockchain, which is something new, and also we've got less amount of topics, but I think as you've been working on blockchain for a long amount of time, studying blockchain, and you definitely have a much better vision than basically what do I have on blockchain, because you know usually when a student work on specific subject for a long time, they will be professional at that topic, professional at that discipline. So why you not trying to do or to use this strategy which is available on the screen now? You could define the blockchain, then you could define several sub areas inside the blockchain, then you could go apply these topics or these strategies until you end up with a specific research question. Have you tried to do that?
Yes, I'm trying. I mean, I've started working on this currently on this since due to office work, I was heavily loaded. So I have started studying these things. So that's what I was thinking. No issues.
Okay.
I will try to go with the screen mentioned format, and will come up with something if I get.
Yeah. By the way, if you have some difficulty to work on blockchain, I mean, isolated from other topics, why you are not just bringing blockchain to other topics or other areas of technology? For example, why you are not trying to do some blockchain solution for banking system? Why you not doing blockchain for Bitcoin, for example, and forecasting whatever kind of issues? Why you not doing a blockchain for data security, for example? Um,
Got, got it.
that one could be applied in several other areas.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got your
Yeah,
point.
yeah. This will make your life much easier because you will have, you could apply such a principle of blockchain in other areas that is not being explored yet in terms of applying blockchain to. So for example, you could do a blockchain for medical data. You could do a blockchain for banking system. You could do a blockchain for any other um, facility that we will deal with in our daily life, for example. So that will make it much easier for yourself.
Okay, Professor. Got it.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. You are welcome.
Hello, Professor. Can you
Hello.
hear me? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So actually, I have one similar question like Shubham. So actually, I am into full stack development. So I am also finding like three or four topics in the list. So if you can suggest me some more topics, it would be easier because like I'm very new to this research field. So
Yeah.
actually finding difficulty.
Okay. So you've mentioned that you are a full stack developer. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a web development or what kind of development?
It's basically so web development only, like Angular, Spring Boot, Java, and backend. Like we're
Wow.
using.
Good. That seems interesting. Basically, as you are a full stack web developer, so why you don't think about some web services to work on? Basically, I know you guys, you've got a very practical, a very good practical background, but you just new to the research part of this. So why you are not considering your experience and you basically developing some new solutions, for example, for medical data collection, for secure data collection in terms of applying new security, cyber security approaches, for example, to protect web data, for example, or to develop some kind of services that basically help, um, let's say, help people and educate in education, for example, any kind of, why you not develop some small games to help educating children in terms of chemistry, for example, in terms of mathematics, for example. Then you could measure the performance or the feasibility of such application by asking the families of any of the children that have used such an application, what do you think about my application? Do you think that your children basically uh, benefited from my application? Do they have been basically learning math much easier when they played with my application rather than just teaching the math on the board? So you could think about some kind of application that could be used by others, then could be measured by others, then you could show us something related to your application in terms of evaluation and testing, and at the same time you are still keeping same direction and using all your experience uh, inside that one.
Yeah, sure. I will see like regarding to security and all if I can create something, could find some use case in that side.
Yeah, you could clearly touch an area of IoT, edge computing with web services. You could do cloud computing with web services. You could do um, let's say big data with web services. You could do cybersecurity with web services. You could do a lot of things, data protection with web services, um, several other type of application that you could use your experience inside, and also you end up with the solution and end up with the evaluation.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Okay, guys, any other questions, concerns? So you are welcome to open the mic directly and ask, or post your question through the chat, or email me in case that you will you remember something basically at the end of the session, or when we finish, then you just reach me by email. Okay, guys, I cannot see any other questions coming through. For that reason, I will remind you again of my email, which is ljmuacadsupportml@abgrad.com. Please reach me on that email in case you need. And also, you are
Professor, I have
welcome.
last
Yeah.
question. This is Tayyab.
Yes, please go on. Go on.
Yeah. So one of the topic is somehow relevant to what you explained just now, but it involves the international audience. So my topic says I'll have to study uh, multiple countries, especially the kids. And so I am a little puzzled. How would I find data set first and the new records for those data set? So like this is right, I can distribute the application around my family and all my friends so to collect the new data. But my challenge is it the primary focus is international, and it's not just the country that I'm in. How do I go about it and push this thing, or push this thing to other countries where I can add participants? Is there a way, a forum where people volunteer for this, or I can find some connection which will help me in that?
Um, you could do both ways, basically. Having connection in different countries that could help, basically. Although you will do a first stage of distributing your application to your friends and colleagues and
Mhm.
families or near you, basically,
So, but
that will
it
help.
is, yeah, but it is special comparison between the international organization. I mean, say international. Uh, uh, I am not able to phrase my sentence somehow because there's
Take your
excitement
time, no
probably.
worries.
Yeah. So the main purpose of the research is comparison between multiple countries, and
Okay. In terms
yeah,
of in terms of children behavior, or in terms of what?
in terms of their intelligence.
Okay, so you need to measure the intelligence of children. I mean, the children below 10 years or below 8 years, or
Yeah,
what is the
especially
range of?
yeah, preschool and before the fifth standard,
Okay,
especially
so
the academic.
yeah, so for that reason, it is difficult to access such a thing because there is a lot of application that you need to submit.
Mhm.
Just make sure that because this is a not easy way, because you are collecting some data, you are reaching children through application. So this is not easy. Definitely, it's not easy because you know If you're submitting an ethical approval application and you need to work on that one and submit it for a review through the ethical committee, that will take, I think, no less than 4 months, no less than 4 months. And you only have only 6 months to achieve your thesis. I'm sure this will be a very big problem for your topic. Why are you not considering as basically some available online data to work on rather than collecting the data yourself?
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I'll try that. Yeah.
I definitely not recommending you to do so because that will. I know what is behind the ethical approval issues. You know, one of our projects we spent 1.5 years only to get an approval for our ethical to use some to access
So
some
how do I
person.
evaluate these ethical boundaries, especially I mean, it is possible all my topics, all three my topic can hit these ethical boundaries, and how do I evaluate this?
I think you may avoid such a requirement by using let's say secondary type of data, which is the data that being collected by somebody else and made available online for research. Then you just pick that data up and refer back to the research, and you are free to use that data without any hassle.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
that will save you a lot of time for yourself, a lot of time and effort.
Okay, thanks a lot.
You are welcome, man. You are welcome. Okay, guys, any extra question, please? I will give one more minute in case you need to add something before closing the session. Okay, thank you very much for attending the session, and keep in touch in case you need my advice in or with respect to your topic selection or any other technical issue or academic issue. Then you are welcome to contact me, and hope to see you next week. Enjoy your rest of the day, and don't forget to narrow your options down and down till you reach your final research question. This strategy will help you a lot to end up with an achievable research question, an achievable problem, or some problem that you could fix or address. Because at the end of the day, we need to make sure that you will submit your thesis on time. Thank you very much, Hilan. You are welcome. All of you, you're welcome, and see you next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Professor.
guys.
Thank you, Professor.
Thanks, everyone, for taking out time. Yeah, have a
Thank
great
you.
day ahead.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.